Paint and Write the Town is Artists in Action AIA's signature and most popular summertime event. Artists of all skill levels working in any medium meet to create art that's interpretive or inspired by one or more of the scheduled stunning locations in the Salem area. Works can be created in plein air, in the studio, or a combination. Poets of the Mid-Valley Poetry Society and others may join in to write poems about the sites as well. The event culminates with a juried exhibition with cash awards in the fall. Artists in Action is pleased to announce that 2023's Paint and Write the Town exhibition of art and poems is held during the month of October at the Elsinore Framing and Fine Art Gallery, located at 444 Ferry Street Southeast in downtown Salem. The entries will also be displayed on Elsinore's website during the month of October. The exhibition opens with an opening reception and award ceremony this year. That was Saturday, October 6th. Awards included a ribbon and a monetary reward for first, second, and third place, as well as 3 honorable mentions. Award winners are announced online at the opening reception and the AIA website and social media. The event also features People's Choice Awards, which are determined and announced once the exhibition has concluded. Visitors to the gallery may cast their ballot for People's Choice. The gallery's virtual online exhibit will also feature the ability to cast a ballot for People's Choice. All artwork will be available for voting for this public bestowed award. All works are available for sale. The exhibition runs through Tuesday, October 31st. Once the exhibition has concluded, an online gallery of all artwork that was displayed will be published on the AIA website for 1 year. And this year there were 11 sites that they all visited. During the month of June, Bauman's Farms in Jervis. They also went to Willamette Heritage Center in Southeast Salem, Roten Filbert Farm in Southeast Salem, and also the World Beet Festival at the Riverfront Park in downtown Salem. And then in July, several events. Basket Slough National Wildlife Refuge outside of Dallas. And then the Lord and Shriver Conservancy, Gaiety Hollow, Mission Street in Salem. And Meisner Century Farm, great location in Crabtree, Oregon. Also the Salem Art Fair and Festival, which is it's about 75 years of production on that particular festival. It's located at Bush's Pastures Park in Salem as well. And then finally in July, Chemeketa Cellars in Northwest Salem. And then 2 in August, Krusk Gardens in West Salem, and finally Minto Island Growers on the island of Minto outside of Salem. And so a total of 11 locations throughout the summer of 2023, and that is Paint and Write the Town.
Hello, my name is Jane Castellan Bucola, and I was honored to have been asked to judge the art in this show as Paint and Write the Town 2023. I've been a practicing artist for over 40 years, and during that time I have painted portraits, landscapes, still life, floral, and done architectural drawings. I've worked in several media, including oil, pastel, which is my favorite medium, acrylics, watercolors, and pen and ink. I have a degree in art from UC Irvine, and I belong to 3 pastel societies: Pastel Society of America, Pastel Artists of Oregon, and I'm a signature member of the Northwest Pastel Society. The theme of this show was to create art inspired by, but not limited to, certain designated locations in the area. My job in judging the art was to award the most captivating art that exemplified this criteria. I also kept in mind the following criteria: appropriateness to theme, presentation, mastery of medium, creativity, design elements and principles, and overall style and appeal. I personally am attracted to a work that in some ways draws me in visually and makes me feel that I am experiencing the scene in a physical, emotional, or spiritual way. So let's get on with the awards. This is one of 3 honorable mentions. It's entitled Poppy Pods. It's by Carolyn Leal, and it is the medium is colored pencil on black paper. I was immediately drawn to this composition because of the perspective that the artist took here, where we're looking down on the subject. Also, what struck me about this painting or this drawing, is that there's a contrast between the circular pods and the rectangular shape of the bricks. I also love the colors, the soft greens and reds being complementary. And so I think she did a great job there. This is another one of our honorable mentions, Hot Summer Day at Basket Slough by Deanna White. The medium is acrylic. I was particularly drawn to this one because of its whimsical nature. I love the whimsical quality and the color in this painting, and also the fact that another compositional plus was that this pathway takes us back into the background so we can enter the painting. And this hot summer sky, I really felt the heat from that. So, another nice honorable mention. This is another one of the honorable mentions. It's Pathway to Winemaking by Lorraine Dye. It is pastel on sanded paper. I particularly was struck by this one because of the eye-popping color. That's what really drew me in. And this pathway taking us back into the background here. But these yellow and purple together are really eye-popping. And so I think Lorraine Dye did a great job. This painting received the award of 3rd place. It's entitled Basket Slough Mallard. It's by Jim Richards. It's oil on panel. I was particularly drawn to this one because of its meditative quality, and also because of the beautiful rendering of and the intensity of color in the mallard duck itself. This is a supposedly foggy morning, and I really felt that. This branch here gives context to the placement of the environment here with the duck taking off from the water, and it's a very important element in the painting because it shows a reflection on the water. And so I love the quality, the meditative quality of this painting. This piece received second place. It's a photograph. It's by Richard Berry. It's entitled The Workbench. I love this lighting coming in from the side, illuminating all the objects in the photograph, in this room. It's really a capturing of time. And the eye can move around to different objects that are illuminated by the lighting and can spend a lot of time discovering different objects in the photo. And just feel like we step back into time here. This painting received first place, entitled Minto Brown Farm with Dahlias by Diane Trivette. It's an oil painting. I really love this painting. The artist has used values in the petals and so that they really have volume, and the color is beautiful. And her choice to use the green in the center of this magenta dahlia really is wonderful. And I also think she has beautiful brushwork, and she uses it in clever ways to delineate the grasses and the small flowers in the distance. So there's texture also. And the composition is also very nice, with the large dahlia in front leading us back with the smaller dahlias into the background. And so this painting has a high degree of finish and in the brushwork, and I really think it deserved first place.
My name is Marilyn Johnston, and I'm a poet here in the Salem area. I teach creative writing in the Artists in the Schools program. And I love this event, the Paint the Town, Write the Town, where both visual and written artists get to sit side by side, looking at the same objects and coming out with something that resonates to them. So the first poem I'm going to read is a conversation I had at the Roten Filbert Farm. And it was so compelling that I knew I wore it all the way home. And here's my poem. Those who paint with brushes, those who paint with words. I look out at the rows of filbert trees, talk with the painter who captures the perfect feathering of clouds, as if just before a full burst of sun with her brush. She says she paints because writing would make the words stay in her head, making it hard to sleep. And she tries to keep them from entering her dreams in the night. There's a rainbow of hues on her palette, ready to capture the light and the shadows of the scene beside her. And I think again how marvelous it is what binds us both together. How an artist's canvas can sear, represent how it looked on a summer day like this, grateful under the western sky. And as poets, how we regularly plow the narrow roads ahead in dreams, sometimes through clouds, sometimes in the full thrust of the noon sun, or maybe along the littered paths we've stumbled down all our lives just to get here. And the only other poem that I submitted this year for the exhibit was at the Cross Garden, and I think it'll be self-explanatory what drove me to write this poem. In the here and the now. I walked down the garden path after a morning of self-doubts. How is it that my gladiolas never stood this stately, my phlox and roses never as plush? A day when everything on the news seems threatening, wars waging in 10 countries, wildfires and floods, a coup in Niger. And I carry it all around with me in between the new buds, red-orange petals in full bloom, a small nook to write and hide in at every bend. While a lesser goldfinch darts around me, calling and calling with its sweet trill. It is then the unruffling begins, letting this place take me somewhere free. I breathe it in, then out, then in and out again. And for just this moment, it is as if the world sighs.
Hello, my name is Mike Schuler. I live in the Salem area, and I have been a member of the Mid-Valley Poetry Society for, probably 10 years, and engaged in Paint the Town, Write the Town since 2016, when the Society joined the event at the invitation of Artists in Action. And I've always enjoyed going to the different places during the summer for the event. And I love to write poetry of place. And this is a perfect venue for me. The poem I'm going to read, one of those that I wrote this year, is from Chemeketa Cellars Vineyards. And I like to visit vineyards. I like other events and parks and farms. But the vineyard seemed to bring out the best in my sensibilities this year. And I think the poem will be self-explanatory in terms of its inspiration. I love outdoors, and I think I was inspired by that, and perhaps a little bit by the wine. So the poem that I selected for this year's video is titled Tastes of Harvest. Against a confusion of woodlands, we see rows of grapes along hillsides and horticultural diversity shaped into a garden-like landscape of leafed and needled shrubbery. Above a valley of worked fields lined by trees, below foothills of a forested range. At our table, beneath an airy canopy, we share a vegetable tray and flight of wine. Rosé, organized of raspberry and cherry. Viognier of vanilla and lemon. Riesling of peach and pear and melon. Pinot of tart fruit and cacao. Table wine of cherry and plum and cranberry. And afterward, we meander the path curved along a high stand of oak in the warm afternoon sun, and see pollinators buzzing between blooms, lifting golden grains from blossoms, flying from one flower to another in their own tasting of harvest.
Hello, I'm Susan Woods Morse. I live right here in Salem. I'm a local area poet. I've been writing poetry since I was about 10 years old, I guess. And people and place really are the things I write mostly about. So this poem that I wrote that I'm going to read today was after visiting the Salem Bush's Pasture Park right after the art fair. And kind of focuses on a person I saw there the day after. So the title of the poem is Fishing in Bush's Pasture Park the Day After. As I finish packing up the last of my wares that didn't sell, I see him apparently fishing thin air, for there is no river here. What does he hope to retrieve? Perhaps lost souls from the fair, maybe his own. The cast of his line snakes back and forth, over and over, like a silent scream after yesterday's noise and confusion, his own scream piercing, lifting into a sky that has rained down misfortune upon him. His wishes seem clear. He must use the meager resources he has to catch something. Leftover glitter, yesterday's laughter, the sustaining breaths of today's white oak splendor. His arms slightly akimbo, from time to time he bites the tip of his finger, snagging and releasing, then he is snagged again by the errant throws of his hook. As he sways, his pants sag, a torn hoodie covers long hair. Small wads of paper towel are stuffed up his left nostril. Face grubby with dark beard, his eyes barely discernible, I imagine they follow me when I drive away, uncomfortable, in my car, just as a meager but accusing mist of needed rain begins to fall. Thank you. And I was thinking about a lot of disparities in our society as I wrote that poem.
My name is Sarah Rahors. I'm a long-term poet, photographer, and former newspaper reporter. I moved to Salem in 2015 and now work at a local elementary school. I've been part of group poetry readings and published in small poetry journals over the years. For the last decade, I've been part of an online poem-a-day group, which I help moderate. I'm also a new member of the Mid-Valley Poetry Society. I chose to write about Gaiety Hollow for a few reasons. The main one is that it was easy to get to for me. I'd been there a few times but had never been inspired to write a poem after my visits. I was intrigued by the challenge of visiting a place for the express purpose of finding the muse or inspiration for a poem. I visited the garden 3 times over the summer and also got fascinated by the history of the place and the lives of Elizabeth Lord and Edith Shriver, the women who lived there, designed Gaiety Hollow Garden, and ran a successful landscape design team for decades. So here's my poem. Gaiety Hollow, Open Garden. You are my morning when you know you are among the flowers and grass. Here beyond the white gate, arms brushing delicate spider webs, dance of bees, curves of petals, edge of broken branches scraping ground. Sit with one foot on bricks, the other on wooden bench, paper, pen, bag bulging with electronics, urging, go and be busy. Then a breeze. Stay. Take heed of the hairy oak you find on a path, silence in leaves. White hydrangea has a scent and a story, so much more patience. What does the heliotrope say in its rough purple, its different kind of sweet? Not about you, but someone sitting in a garden, or perhaps a pair hidden behind hedges, who trailed fingertips on grass blades and felt the air like a caress. Coupled, they might now be waking, looking out a beveled window. What do you know in seeing, and how much more you might leave behind in dirt? How the spider waits. Breathe in the names of leaves, trees, bushes, poets and artists making marks, dividing time by sunlight, flash of butterflies, and words and seeds planted long ago. Your own hummingbird, iridescent green and yellow, vibrates inches from your face as you hunch over or scrawl on paper. How you almost missed it, that perfect moment. So much talk of leaving, of stillness. Move your eyes to delicate petals that tear up with age, eventually rip away fabric. Will bees notice your absence, find a smudge of ink, ghost of yellow from the rose blowing next to the lily? Such ache of remembrance, nymphs in grass, feet that trod softly, voices softly muted. Work of hands, green grapes pressed into wine, petals into old leather books. Before you latch the gate and leave into whoosh and roar of cars, you might come to know the listening, a bending towards radiance. Petunias, daisies, gladiolas, zinnias in still warm air carrying hints of autumn winds, cold and cold rain. You have memories of other gardens with deeper holds, where you might say you entered singing and heard laughter. But for today, gaiety of this hollow, thank you, red dahlia, bees in clover drunk along a doorway, bird notes on wings, you and everything else in all this openness saved. Thank you.
Hello, poetry fans. This is Arthur from Boston, having a wicked awesome time out here among all you trees. I'm an old geezer who has adopted a terrific alter ego, which was invented by a sports reporter to describe the crusty, irascible coach of the New England Patriots football team. He called Coach Bill Belichick a grumpy old lobster boat captain, which is a perfect description of yours truly. So this grumpy old lobster boat captain thought about a fun way to pay tribute to his wonderful family, which he appreciates more and more as he gets older and older, even though the feeling isn't always mutual. So for all you oldies similarly blessed, here is Family Pronouns by Arthur McCaffrey. When you were we, that's W-E-E, when you were we and we were you and you were us, there was no fuss about identity. We were just a family. But then you became I and went away. We spoke of she and you spoke of they, and family became my. As time passed by and he and she and it's a boy or girl gave us relative pronouns, our family grew. Children became grand as parents, while parents became ours and theirs. There was some fuss about identity. But now you're big and we are old enough to scold. It's time to parse those family pronouns to make sure we are grammatically correct. What did you expect? There is no you and me. There's only us. No fuss. We're family.
I'm Eleanor Berry. I'm one of the founding members of the Mid-Valley Poetry Society, and have also been president of the Oregon Poetry Association and the National Federation of State Poetry Societies. My own most recent collection of poems is Works of Wildfire, which stemmed from the experience of the 2020 Labor Day fires, in which my husband and I lost our home in the Beachy Creek fire. This year I was happy to participate in the Write the Town part of Paint and Write the Town, though only able to visit two sites, the very first or almost the first and the very last. So I'm going to read you two poems. The first one comes out of the visit to Willamette Heritage Center. I think it's self-explanatory. The title reads right into the poem. When you visit the historic woolen mill, only appear to listen as the staff person walks you through the map of the grounds. Ignore his recommendation to watch the video orientation before taking a self-guided tour. Leave the key to unlock the doors of all the buildings unused in your purse. Wander the paths between them. Stray off. Drift to a ragged edge of the grounds where an unpruned polyantha rose, thick with deep pink single blooms, splays twice the breadth of your spread arms and stretches half again your height, where a rank sprawl of Himalayan blackberry drapes its heavy canes across overgrown rosemary bushes. Even at the main mill building, find a lively, neglected patch. Just outside the ground floor windows stand gangly teasels gone to seed. No plaque beside them to explain how, mounted in a frame, they'd be used to tease a nap on cloth. Relish what hasn't been subsumed into the intended story, what insists on its own present life. My other poem came from a visit to Minto Island farm stand, which is much more than a farm stand. It's gardens with including cutting gardens as well as vegetable gardens. There's many aspects of the place. This poem came from, I think, it gives its own context. So here it is. Not just for themselves, but for where they take us. From the cool shelter of a willow-shaded bench beside the sun-scorched, empty playground, we watch in the cutting garden beyond 2 young women walking the rows of flowers, clipping blooms for bouquets. From this distance, we can't identify their picks. See only that the stalks they cut are topped with bright, compact heads. What guides their choices? To what places of memory do those bright globes transport them? If you and I were walking the rows with clippers, choosing which flowers to take at 50 cents a stalk, we'd likely head straight for the tall ones you call spider plant, name you were told as a child, and I prefer to call cleome, my lilting 3-syllable mispronunciation of the plain trochee cleome, genus name I learned from reading seed packets, never heard anyone say. When you were small, your mother grew them in the backyard garden. The loose, round clusters of pink and white blossoms would have been about eye level for the toddler you were then. The long, whiskery filaments of their stamens must have tickled your face. When we lived, you and I, on old field acres in Wisconsin, we grew them along one edge of the big vegetable garden I planted every year at the end of spring semester, neglected to harvest when I started teaching each fall. They thrived. Remember the photo I took? You're squatted among them for scale, grinning out from a small forest of frilly flower heads. Plants return us to where we knew them first, or where they most insistently entered our lives.